Hey everyone, Lauren from A Girl and Her Wool here. Nacho, of course, is here as well. So today is Tuesday. We're going to be doing another dye with me video, and I'm going to link to the last video we had done, because we're actually in the midst of a series. And so if you haven't checked out the first video, the first vlog in the series, go check that one out first. So you'll see a link for it up above. And you know, it's like every time I say he's not a lap cat, he lays on my lap. It's so funny. Ow, he smacked me in the face. Okay, so just getting the yarn out of his way. So anyway, go check out that video if you have not seen it yet. And we're going to be continuing along with that today. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined the live stream on Saturday. It was so much fun. We just sat, chatted, and I showed some projects that I'm working on and then some upcoming projects. And it really was so much fun. I had no expectations for it. I didn't know if anyone was going to come. I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I had the projects planned to talk about. If no one was there, then I would just kind of treat it like any other vlog, just without editing. And so I'm so happy you guys came, and we're so talkative and chatting and everything. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I'm not going to really set too many obligations for myself on how often I will do something like that, but I'm thinking maybe once a month when I have projects to show. I thought that was a good way to kind of have an agenda without kind of relying too much on the conversation. I could kind of show things, but it was really fun to chat, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it too, and Nacho did as well. So I would say too, there's a good chance that if it's like a Saturday afternoon, something like that, where I'm just working on stuff, I might just go live. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you have some notifications so that if I do, you don't miss it. So thank you very much again. So for today's dye with me, kind of like I mentioned, we're doing the second installment of this series that we're working on, where we're using one photo for inspiration across various vlogs. And so he's in what we call lovey-dovey mood. And so in the first video, I took the photo and I did a colorway based on it. And so that was this one. I do have a couple of skeins left. I purposely held some back from this month's installment of the Dye With Me Club so we could compare. So it was a very white, bright, light skein where we added pinks and purples, and then speckle and greens, and then like speckles of the same kind of darker tones of them, based on the cake photo. And so what I kind of asked you guys to do before you kind of watch the dye with me is to tell me what you saw when you looked at the photo and what you expected the colorway to look like. And I did get a couple of people take the challenge on who dye, and so putting up some photos here of what they dyed up. So just a lot of fun. And when I was reading through the comments, it seemed like a lot of people had thought the same thing as me. So we kind of interpreted it the same, and then other people saw more like tonals, so like a purple tonal with speckles of some of the other colors. And so it was really fun to read through it. I also really enjoyed some of the conversations that you guys were having back and forth, which is also great. I love that these kind of spark conversations. And for those of you who are a little nervous about the pastel colors and then love the colorway, I'm so pleased about that. Some people seem to not be so sure about it, but then requested it for the Dye With Me Club. So I was super excited about that. If you don't know what the Dye With Me Club is, let me just recap it here quickly before we move on to skein number 2. So the Dye With Me Club is a club that I have available on my website at agirlandherwool.com. And so it renews on the 1st of the month, so it's an ongoing subscription that you can cancel at any time. But on the 1st of the month it will renew, and so everyone who's in that club, when it renews on the 1st, will receive a skein that I dyed up in a previous Dye With Me vlog. It could be from the most recent one, it could be from the prior month, it could be leftovers from a previous month, something like that, a previous Dye With Me. And if you have a preference, so if you watch today's vlog and you love what I show, or you love one of these, you are more than welcome to email me your request. It definitely comes on a first come, first served basis. So if you make a request, and you were the first one to it, that's what you'll get. Otherwise, I will just randomly give you a skein from a previous vlog. I have people just request a certain base and say any color. Some people get very specific. You can also list a few choices, because sometimes your first choice might not be available, and then I just kind of go down the list from there. Last month I did a roundup of what was available, and I think that that worked well. So I'll plan to do that at the end of this month. I do have some of the pooling versus non-pooling skeins. I have these cake skeins as well, and of course what we'll be dyeing up this month. So if you're interested in it, the club is less than $20 a month. It includes shipping, so there's no shipping on top of that. So if you want to sign up, click on the link in the description box below and sign up. And I'd love to have you along with the Dye With Me Club. Those in the club are really helping me continue these vlogs, and I will even consider doing them more often depending on how many people we get. So yes, thank you guys so much. Okay, so skein number 2. So my idea here was to kind of like work with some of the interpretations you guys had. A lot of them were very similar to mine or were purple tonal, and so I felt like we did a lot of purple in this one. We do purple in the new one too. So first of all, I wanted to take the white out of it. I wanted to really zoom in on the other colors, but I didn't want to do a purple tonal because I felt like this skein is like white and purple, so I didn't want to do that. So what I ended up doing was kind of a second interpretation of my own, and we'll talk more about it kind of during the dyeing and after to see what's different. But it does look different than the first skein, but it also does represent the photo pretty well. So I think it's really cool. I really am enjoying this series myself. I hope you guys are too, to just kind of see the different interpretations we can get. I did dye up, let me grab it and I'll get ready to show you guys, and I'll tell you guys what we're dyeing it up on, and then we'll head into the dye video. Okay, so I dyed it up on 2 skeins of DK because people have been requesting DK. So I dyed up 2 skeins of DK, 1 skein of sock, and 1 skein of BFL sock in this colorway. So that is what you will see in the dye pot. The video is still here available, and so you guys will see the actual skeins being dyed up this time. So without further ado, if you don't want to see it, feel free to look away. I'm just going to hold them all up really quickly, and then we will head to the dye pot. So here it is on sock. And the skein's a little messy. And then the DK skeins. So that's DK, the sock skein, and BFL sock. All right, so let's head to the dye pots. I'll talk all about it as we dye up, and then come back at the end for us to do our wrap up and then more giveaway news, because if you don't know, this whole series has a giveaway involved, so stick around till the end to find out how to enter. All right, I will head to the dye pots now. Okay, so I'm really excited you guys actually get to see the full pan here. You can see me batch dyeing up this colorway. So like I mentioned, there's 4 skeins in here, the 2 on DK, 1 BFL, 1 on sock, and I just have them laying parallel to each other so you see them kind of horizontally from your view here. The first thing I wanted to do was kind of remove the white base. I wanted to get away from having a white skein to make this different from last time. So I'm just coming in here with a few different neutrals. If I weren't, so I could have done this as a dye bath to kind of give a more uniform look of these colors and kind of take away from the entire white base. But to be honest, I already had the yarn in the pan, so I decided to just kind of like do it with the speckling and smushing technique that I talk about on here. And you can see I didn't do a ton. I didn't want to make the skein overall yellow, and you can see I got a little bit of blue on the skein. That skein I was just lifting up as well. If it won't matter because we're going to be adding that blue on there anyway. But yeah, I'm just flipping them over so they're still laying parallel, and I'm going to add more of that color underneath. I didn't wait too long before flipping it. You saw me just put it on and then flip over. So some of that dye that I put on will leak into the water underneath and move around a little bit, give it a more uniform look. But again, just kind of coming in with a few different neutral colors. I didn't want to make too much of this like a yellow base, but I just wanted it to not have that white base. So that's all I'm doing here. And I didn't do a ton. I didn't make it like a tonal yellow on the bottom here. Really just lightly did it so that when we add more colors on top, we won't have to, you know, worry about covering up all the base of the yarn. All right, so fast forwarding through that a little bit, here you can kind of see where I ended up with. So again, there is still some white, but overall it won't have like that bright white base we had of the last skein, and we are going to add more colors. So my focus was to kind of get that periwinkle blue that was below the cake in the photo. So I mixed up some colors in a bottle and I just threw it on a little bit, and it was a little bit, you can't really see too well here, but it was a very like blue green. It wasn't so much of that periwinkle blue. So I went back and added some more dyes to it, which you'll see in a second for that blue. Okay, so I went back and kind of added some more to it. I started spraying it, and this is kind of really more what I was looking for, so you'll be able to see it in a second. So you can even compare it to that corner a little bit. The corner was like more, well, maybe you can't anymore, but it was more like blue-green and brighter. So I muted it down, toned it down quite a bit. So it's that kind of deeper blue that we see in the photo. And sprayed it randomly. So you can see on there just random lines across the board. I did not want to make this into like a pulling video by any means, or pulling skein by any means, so kind of just sprayed it across there randomly. The thin lines means like it really won't show too much, so I do end up adding more to it, but you see that it is done pretty much in thin lines randomly and not big chunks or anything like that. I did let it set for quite a bit before moving it around. That way the blue and the yellow wouldn't blend together into a green or anything like that. I wanted them to stay separate, so I did wait quite a bit before flipping the skeins over like this, which you can see is what I do when I dye in this batch like this. So I just kind of flip them over, and you'll see we do something different at the end, but for now I just flip them over to make sure I get all sides. So kind of flip it over and then we'll flip it around to the other side. So just adding more blue. And again, I wanted, when I set out to make the skein originally, I really did want to focus on that blue, so I did want to add a lot, but again, I didn't want it to accumulate too much, so added it kind of randomly. Unfortunately, I did not press play before adding in the second color, so give me a second while you watch me put it on and I will explain it. So in the first video, we really saw the white kind of stood out. We had the pastel, like really light purple, light pink, light green as our base. And so what I wanted to do with this one was kind of just make it a more colorful skein, I guess, in that I was really looking at the picture and saying which colors in this picture do I really like. And I really liked that blue and the reds from like the cupcake toppers and the flowers and such. So kind of made a more reddish pink, and you saw me kind of spray it in the gaps of where the blue was, and then I kind of mixed it around, and that's because I'm okay if the blue and the red kind of blend together into that purple, because we all know purple is a big focus of that skein, and so I didn't care if they blended together too much. I didn't want it to be too separated. I do want the skein to look pretty uniform, so that's kind of why I like pushed everything down in there. That was just kind of help spread out that blue and the red a little bit, and then also help blend them together. So I did let that sit for like quite a bit and let it rest. And I'm gonna, again, just flip it over again, kind of get more of the skein to show so I can add more of these colors. If you do hear Nacho meowing, he is sitting with me while I record this voiceover. He was not in the room with me while I was dyeing, but he is in the room with me now. And of course, because I'm talking and recording, you guys know he loves to be a part of it. So, So again, I just moved it around, and you can see when I flip it over, we still see a lot of white. And so just want to make sure we get some color on all the sides. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason to how I'm adding this red. I am just adding it randomly, squirting it in really random pattern. This is why no two skeins of hand-dyed yarn are the same, because I would never be able to mimic that exact pattern I just took and didn't do it the same across all the skeins. So at this point too, I will say, and I said it if you guys watched me kind of reveal the colors beforehand, but I don't think this is what the finished skein looks like at all. So if you're looking at this now like this is crazy and whatever, just wait until you see how the skein looks at the end, because I really don't think it looks a lot like this. You guys can see here, I really am trying to emphasize that blue. And when we look at the finished skeins, the blues are not what stands out the most. And so definitely interesting to always see how skeins start versus how they end up looking at the end. And all my colorways that I dye, there's always like a point where it's like, oh, you know, where it kind of like becomes the colorway. And I'm like, oh, I didn't completely mess this up. It does look like that. So it's kind of interesting how they can look so different in the early layers versus kind of how the finished skein looks at the end. And I think this one will be a great example of it. So if you didn't peek at the beginning, you'll see that kind of how it looks in the pan here is not at all really what the finished skein looks like. So again, I let that sit for a little bit, let the colors kind of blend in, and you can see I'm just doing the same thing again. If I flip it around, there's a section of the skeins that are still pretty white, so I want to make sure I get kind of these base colors on there as well. You can see I'm not really adding more of the neutrals anymore, and that's because I really didn't want to make that a focus of the skein. I really just wanted that to help prevent you know, having a white skein. But you can still see, keep moving it around, there's always more white happening. So just going to kind of come back in with those two colors and add more. So at this point, I actually am coming back in with a new color. This is the purple. So I did decide I wanted to bring in purple to just kind of blend those blues and reds together. And also, again, purple is a big part of the skein. So I'm just doing it on this one side. And you can see I really didn't cover up the whole thing with too much of the purple. But I did add some kind of purple that I blended up in there. It's not going to be quite as pastel as it was in cake number one, but it was like a generic purple base. And again, not all over the skein. We just did it randomly on that one side. So what you see me doing here is piling the skeins up. So you see this, you see me doing this a lot when I dye one skein at a time, and some of you have asked how that has translated to batch dyeing. I just piled more skeins up in a pan. The reason why I like to pile them up like this is that I feel like it applies speckles more randomly, which is what we're going to come in and do. We're going to start speckling these skeins. And by piling them up, it just makes it kind of happen randomly across the whole skein versus if I had left them lying parallel, it wouldn't have gone on all sides. It just would have gone on like that top layer. And so by piling it up, it'll just help me apply the speckles randomly all throughout. So at this point, I don't want the speckles to move. I don't want this color to kind of bleed all over the skein. I just want it to kind of stay speckled like that. So I'm not going to touch it, but there was a bit of a jump there, so it has been quite a bit of time, and you can see some of the speckles have kind of bled out a little bit, which is fine. And so again, it's kind of like a pink purple speckle. I know it's hard to see on camera this way. It just kind of looks like dark blobs, but you'll see it in the finished skein. But we are going to move these skeins around one more time and speckle them again and then call it done. All right, so I did let them sit a little bit more, and now we're just gonna, like I said, come in and move them around. So again, I just pile them up randomly, try to get a different side on the top than what would have been there before. That way the speckles kind of can happen evenly. So just doing that for each one of the 4 skeins. I can't even tell from looking at it this way which one is which. So it's just equal treatment across the 4 bases, or I'm sorry, the 3 bases. So yeah, we're just going to come in and speckle again with the same color. I'm just doing one color speckling for this skein. And again, just doing it randomly across the top. Because the skein is piled randomly and I'm doing it randomly, it'll kind of hit throughout the whole skein. And so that is it for this, how we're gonna dye this. Let's go see how they look now that they're dry. All right, welcome back. So we dyed up those skeins, and I have to say, and I think I haven't done the voiceover yet for the dyeing, so I apologize if I talked about this a lot during the dyeing. But I don't think the skein looks at the end how you probably thought it was gonna look when I started dyeing it up. So I wanted to take the white out, right? So I didn't want the white skein again, and so we took that out and did kind of like more of a neutral base, but I really let the yellow show just for kind of some of those icings and all that on there. And then I really wanted to bring out that blue. So again, this was kind of less of like a literal interpretation, and I just love that kind of periwinkle blue, and so I wanted to bring that out in the skein. But in the end, the pinks and the purples do show through, but you do get, instead of like the white and the greens, you get kind of those neutrals and blues. And I think overall it's more of a variegated skein. The last one kind of ended up with a lot of the speckles that we did on there. It wasn't all over speckles, but it was a pretty light and bright skein. And so on this one, you just get more of a variegated skein. So here it is on sock. So again, you do see kind of those yellows and neutrals as well as the blues. So you definitely see those in there. But you do get a lot of the pinks and the purples as well. So we just kind of threw on some of the purple on one side at the very end. So again, in here you get a lot of the blues and the yellows or creams. And then just a little bit of those pinkish, purplish speckles as well. So I'll show it on the other bases as well, but I can compare it here. So again, I do think this is representative of the photo. So we have the purples, of course, the pinks, some of the darker pinks, the creams from the icing. So I don't think you would look at the cake photo and see this and say that is not an interpretation of it. But I would also say the same thing of this skein. And these work really nicely together. They have a lot of the light and bright, so this would definitely be like two skeins of a fade kit, like this being the first one and then fading into this one and then doing something else as a third one for a fade, which would be really cool. So they both are definitely representative of the photo, but of course we bring different colors into it. Here we have the lights, and then here we bring in more of like the blues. And so here it is on DK. So again, kind of the same feel, but of course the speckles always look a little bit bigger. It always kind of separates things a little bit more. And oh, the two skeins that I have left of the first are both sock base, so I don't have a comparison of the other bases. Like I said, people requested BFL sock and DK this time, so. And then here it is on BFL sock. So again, you get a lot of the creams and blues and then just kind of the purples and the pinks splashed on there. So this is cake 1 and cake 2. So yeah, you really see how these would make a really fun pairing, really fun fade. So that is that. And then I will just hold them all up together again so you see it across all the bases. So that is, again, cake 2. If you love that skein, definitely feel free to email me and put in your request for it. You can also put in your request for one of the 2 cake 1 photos that I showed. The other things I wanted to talk about for these skeins, so again, I touched on this a little bit, is that you know, when I started dyeing the skein, it looked like it was going to be a lot of the yellows and the blues, right? But when you look at it here, you do see a lot of the pinks and the purples. So I think that kind of my normal dyeing process, what I would do probably if I had dyed up a test skein of this and wanted to make a colorway out of it, I might bring in more of that blue. It would really depend on what I was going for in the original skein. So like the original skein, I kind of wanted the blue to stand out more, and it does. Like, I don't know if it's showing on camera as much, but you do get a lot of the blue in there, like all throughout the skein, whereas the pinks and purples are kind of sporadic. But I might have even brought even more blue into this skein. That's kind of one change that I think I would have made. Like, even looking at this DK skein, you get the blues all over, but you do get those bright pinks to stand out. And maybe that meant that maybe I should have taken a blue speckle as well and done less of the pink and more of the blue. But it came out as a great skein. It's just a matter of thinking about, you know, what was I really going for? What did I want this kind of colorway to look like? But it's also really cool that when you would knit this up, you would probably get like a stitch of blue, a stitch of pink, a stitch of purple. Like, it's just going to come out a lot more variegated than maybe we thought when we first started dyeing it. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that skein. So for the third vlog in the series, I'm going to be making a mini skein set based off of the photo. So I do that with my mystery clubs, where I have a colorway with its contrast skein, and then I also create a mini skein set inspired by the same photo. So that is what we're going to be doing in vlog number 3. So let me know what you guys want for that mini skein set. Should it be kind of a lot of tonals? Should it be very speckled? Should it be based just on one of these, like bring in more of the blues, or make it lighter with more speckles? Let me know what you guys want and to see in that mini skein set, and I'll also talk about kind of my process in coming up with it. Putting these two skeins together and seeing how well they would create a fade. Give me some feedback on this. My original plan was to make this a 3-part vlog. Should I create a bonus 4th video where we create a 3rd skein in this set? Do you guys want to see a 3rd color here for a fade kit? Let me know. The interesting part about that would be that these are one-of-a-kind skeins, so it's not like this fade kit would then be available unless you asked for cake 1 and got it, and asked for cake 2 and you'll get it next time, and then maybe cake 3. So let me know, and maybe what I'll do is hold back, because I have the sock base, maybe I'll hold back the sock bases and make it available or a giveaway or something. So let me know if you would want to see me add on a 4th in this series, knowing that you may or may not be able to actually get the kit, but would you want to see me dye up a 3rd colorway and make this make a 4th video in this series? I'd love to know, because as I look at this, I just think it looks really great, and maybe I can recreate it. Do you guys want me to recreate it? Let me know. Always let me know what you think about everything. But anyway, so that is it. So the giveaway that we are doing in this series, so instead of having a giveaway in each video, I will have one at the end of this series. So whether it's 3 videos or 4 now. And what I'm going to be giving away is a complete 3-month so starting in April, so April, May, June, I'll be doing a limited series Rainbow Club, and so the winner of this giveaway will win that club all 3 months. So you enter by commenting on the videos below, so any video in the series you can comment on one of them or all of them. It's all equal chances to win, and at the end of the series I will pick one lucky winner to win that prize. So thanks so much for commenting. I really do appreciate it. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. And I'll see you guys on Friday. We'll be doing a Faux Friday post on the Slip Stravaganza shawl. The other thing is I don't currently have anything lined up for my vlog for next Friday, so a week from Friday. If there's anything you guys want me to do in particular, let me know and I will add it to the agenda. Otherwise, I will come up with something. But otherwise, I will see you guys on Friday with my shawl. So thanks so much for watching. Make sure you comment below to enter the giveaway and I will talk to you soon. Bye.